This is a moment destined to be etched forever into the annals of Asian sporting history. Broadcasting from the electric atmosphere of Melbourne, where the summer heat pales in comparison to the fire ignited on Court 7, what has just unfolded is far more than a tennis match. To viewers joining from the Philippines, across Southeast Asia, and around the world, this was a moment that demanded attention, a breath-holding, history-shifting spectacle. What we witnessed was not merely competition. It was a declaration, a breakthrough, and a powerful signal that the balance of the tennis world is beginning to shift. This moment marks a seismic shift in the tectonic plates of the Women's Tennis Association. The headline is real. The numbers are confirmed, and the tennis world is stunned not only by the victory but by the sheer dominance of Alexandra Eala's rise. The 20-year-old left-handed sensation from Quezon City, proudly representing the Philippines, has stormed through the first round of the 2026 Australian Open and shattered her own ceiling once again. Live ranking projections now place her at a career-high world number 43, a staggering leap that puts her among the sport's elite. Just 7 days ago, her historic entry into the top 50, the first ever by a Filipino woman in the Open era, was considered the peak. That belief has already been erased. Under the blazing Melbourne sun, Eala didn't merely win a match. She dismantled lingering skepticism about whether a former junior Grand Slam champion could fully transition into a professional force. Her trajectory is no longer gradual. It is vertical. By defeating Alicia Parks, a WTA title holder and co-owner of the fastest serve in US Open history at 129 miles per hour, Eala proved she can neutralize raw power with resilience, movement, and tactical mastery. This projected ranking changes everything, shifting the conversation from whether she belongs to how far she can go. At number 43, Eala earns direct entry into every major tournament, seeding in smaller events and the full attention of the tour's elite who must now look eastward as a new force rises. For decades, Southeast Asia has searched for a global tennis icon. And now, with her grit, pedigree, and fearless ascent, Alexandra Eala is redefining what is possible. Eala's game represents a rare hybrid, blending the hard-court sensibilities traditionally associated with Asian tennis and the heavy top-spin-laden intensity forged on the Spanish clay courts of the Maraglu and Nadal Academy. That fusion was on full display in Melbourne. And the shock wasn't that she won, it was how effortlessly she looked like she belonged among the world's top 40 all along. When the rankings update next Monday, the Philippine flag will fly higher on the WTA list than ever before. But this moment is about far more than a number beside a name. It is shaping the narrative of the 2026 season itself. In just the third week of January, Eala has already reached a WTA 250 semifinal, defeated a top 20 player in exhibition play, and secured her first ever Australian Open main draw victory, turning the so-called Happy Slam into what is quickly becoming a history slam for the Philippines. Carrying the weight of a nation of over 110 million people, with every serve dissected and every forehand analyzed, Eala faced suffocating expectations against Alicia Parks. Yet, she didn't crack. She absorbed 120 miles per hour serves, turned defense into offense with poise beyond her 20 years, and validated her top 50 breakthrough in emphatic fashion. This performance demands a deeper look not just at the score line, but at how she neutralized one of the biggest servers on tour, refined her service motion, transformed physically in the off-season, and climbed to world number 43. This is a deep dive into the making of a superstar. The story of how a girl from Quezon City conquered the junior ranks, survived the grind of the ITF circuit, and is now announcing herself on the biggest stage in tennis. After grinding through the ITF circuit, Alexandra Eala is now knocking on the door of the world's elite. And although the Australian Open has only just begun, for millions of fans, it has already delivered its most emotional storyline. This is not clickbait. It is the reality of a sport waking up to a new hierarchy. The old guard still stands, but the new generation led by the fearless Eala is kicking the door down. World number 43 is now secure. The second round awaits. And yet, the true impact of what happened on Court 7 demands immediate attention. This was a career-defining match, one that reshaped expectations and announced Eala as a legitimate force on tour. To understand why reaching number 43 is such a shock to the system, we must contextualize where she stood just 12 months ago and analyze the tactical evolution on display against Alicia Parks. Parks is the ultimate dangerous floater, 6 feet 1 inch and athletic, armed with a serve that can end points instantly, making her a nightmare first-round draw. Especially for a player like Eala who relies on construction and consistency rather than raw power. Historically, Eala struggled against first-strike players, but this match revealed a 2-0-0 version of her game. The most shocking statistic was not winners, but her return percentage against a server capable of double-digit aces. Eala adopted a deeper return position, standing nearly 2 m behind the baseline in a stance reminiscent of Rafael Nadal or Daniil Medvedev, buying herself precious milliseconds to read 120 miles per hour serves. Crucially, she didn't merely block the ball back. She used heavy left-handed spin to neutralize the point, targeting Park's backhand with high, deep shots that forced the American to generate her own pace from uncomfortable heights. This was Nadal DNA in action. You don't hit a power player, you out-position them. Even when Park surged in the second set, redlining her serve at 125 miles per hour, Eala's mental fortitude held firm, absorbing pressure, extending rallies, and proving that her rise is not accidental, but the product of intelligence, evolution, and championship composure. When Parks began firing 127 miles per hour serves straight down the tee, this was the kind of moment that might have rattled Eala in 2023 or 2024 when broken rhythms sometimes led to visible frustration. But at 4-4 in the second set, facing a breakpoint that would have allowed Parks to serve for the set, Eala delivered a sequence that defined her rise, a nerveless second serve slice out wide, dragging Parks off the court, followed by a perfectly timed wrong-footing forehand winner down the line. That single pattern encapsulated why she now sits at world number 43 elite decision-making under Grand Slam pressure, backed by physicality and composure. International commentators were equally stunned by her conditioning. In brutal Australian heat with court temperatures pushing 40 degrees Celsius, Eala looked fresher in the second hour than the first, sliding confidently on hard courts, defending corners, and recovering instantly to the center. This ability to absorb pace, reset points, and turn defense into offense transformed her into a backboard that hit back, directly contributing to Park's 35 unforced errors. To understand why this victory catapulted Eala to number 43, you have to look at the mathematics of the WTA's rolling 52-week ranking system where players must defend the points earned the previous year. A context that makes this leap not just emotional but mathematically stunning. At the time, Alexandra Eala had been grinding through qualifying rounds and competing in lower-tier ITF events, meaning she had almost no points to defend in the Australian Open main draw. This created a golden window of opportunity as she entered Melbourne ranked number 49 with approximately 1,159 points. A first-round win at a Grand Slam is extremely valuable in terms of ranking points. And in 2026, although the point distribution was adjusted slightly, reaching the round of 64 still guaranteed a significant haul, typically around 70 to 100 points depending on that year's tier adjustments. By defeating Parks, Eala added these points as pure profit to her total rather than replacing a previous result. At the same time, players ranked just above her in the number 44 to number 48 range were losing points. Some exited in the first round while others failed to defend points from deeper runs the previous year. This perfect storm, Eala gaining points while her closest rivals dropped them, catapulted her 6 spots up the live rankings to number 43, a position that carries important implications. Reaching number 43 is crucial because of the cutoffs for WTA 1000 events. Tournaments such as Indian Wells, Miami, Madrid, and Rome typically allow direct main draw entry only to players ranked around the top 45 to 50. And at number 43, Eala is now safely inside that threshold. This means guaranteed entry into the biggest non-Grand Slam tournaments of the season. No more qualifying rounds and no more reliance on wild cards. At smaller events, a ranking of number 43 often earns a top 8 seed, allowing her to avoid the biggest names in the early rounds and making deeper runs more achievable. Those deeper runs translate into more points, higher rankings, and a self-reinforcing virtuous cycle that Eala has just entered. To understand why this rise is so striking, it helps to look at her uneven journey from 2025 to 2026. The path to number 43 was anything but linear. It was shaped by hard lessons and gradual growth. As a junior, Eala was dominant, winning 2 Grand Slam doubles titles at the 2020 Australian Open and the 2021 Roland Garros, followed by the crown jewel of a 2022 US Open junior singles title. She was a standout prospect, but history is full of junior champions who struggled to transition to the professional level. The leap from competing against teenagers to facing seasoned professionals is enormous. The 2025 season became her proving ground. She began the year outside the top 150, grinding through ITF W25 and W50 events and repeatedly falling short in Grand Slam qualifiers. There were early exits and emotional lows, but the breakthrough arrived in Miami in 2025 where she reached the semifinals as a wild card and defeated top 10 players. That run revealed her true ceiling even though consistency remained elusive as big wins were often followed by puzzling losses. What we are witnessing now in Melbourne is the product of that transformation finally taking hold in 2026. The progress Eala is showing now can be traced directly to her preseason work, and much of the credit belongs to her coaching team led by Joan Bosch at the Rafa Nadal Academy. They identified 3 key areas for improvement. Starting with her serve, at under 6 feet 2 inches, Eala cannot rely on free points or aces. So precision became essential against Parks. Her first serve percentage climbed above 65%, a critical benchmark that allows her to take control of points early and set up her left-handed forehand. The second focus was the +1 shot, the ball immediately following the serve or return. Where she once settled into neutral rallies, Eala now looks to do damage, increasing her forehand speed by an average of 5 miles per hour and taking the ball earlier, according to Hawkeye data, which robs opponents of time. The third pillar was resilience and mental strength. Even in last week's ASB Classic semifinals, where she lost a tight 3-hour battle to Wongu, she proved she could endure physically. And against Parks, she grew stronger as the match went on rather than fading. Beyond the technical and physical gains, Eala's rise carries deep cultural significance. Tennis remains a largely Eurocentric sport dominated by the United States and Europe, and genuine breakthroughs by Asian players, especially from Southeast Asia, are rare. While China has produced stars and Japan has had Naomi Osaka, the Philippines has been waiting generations for a figure like this. Alex Eala is no longer just a promising tennis player. She is a cultural phenomenon. When she plays, online engagement surges and the Eala army is unmistakably real. Her Australian Open victory resonated even more because Melbourne functions almost like a home slam for Filipinos, with Court 7 echoing with chants of Laban Pilipinas between points. That energy seems to fuel her rather than weigh her down. While some athletes crumble under national expectations, Eala appears to thrive on them, often speaking about competing for something larger than herself. Reaching number 43 in the world validates not only her own work, but also her family's sacrifices, her move to Spain at a young age, and the long-held hopes of a nation still searching for its defining tennis icon. Eala's rise is not just about physical ability. It's also about strategy, precision, and exploiting subtle advantages. Her left-handedness gives her a natural edge, especially in a tour dominated by right-handers. When she hits a cross-court forehand, the ball spins away from a right-hander's backhand, forcing them to reach and opening up the court. Against Parks today, Eala repeatedly targeted the ad court with wide slice serves to the backhand, then followed up by placing her next shot into the open court. While this is a classic pattern, Eala executed it with the precision and timing of a seasoned veteran. Her backhand, usually her more reliable wing, also held up under pressure. She absorbed Parks' heavy forehands and redirected them down the line, a shot notoriously difficult to execute under pressure, demonstrating both technical skill and confidence. Successfully hitting down-the-line backhand winners on breakpoint signals that she fully trusts her technique. Being ranked number 43 carries enormous implications for the rest of the season. In practical terms, it increases her chances of being seeded at Roland Garros if she has a strong clay season, a surface she trains on extensively in Spain and one that suits her game naturally. If she is performing this well on hard courts, the prospect of translating that success to the European clay swing in April is exciting. Beyond performance, the ranking also has financial and psychological benefits. Prize money and endorsements rise, but so does her aura on court. At number 150, opponents often expect to win. At number 43, they respect her, feel pressure, and know she can beat top players. Eala has earned that respect, and the shock factor comes not only from her rapid ascent, but also from the cultural and technical mastery she brings to the game. The transition is complete. Alexandra Eala is no longer a junior prodigy. She is now a bona fide WTA star. Her first-round win at the Australian Open is more than a result. It is a certification of her arrival at the elite level. But in a Grand Slam, there is no time to linger on triumphs. The turnaround is brutal with matches every other day, leaving recovery ice baths, massage, nutrition, and sleep as the top priority. Looking ahead to round 2, the draw opens up in Eala's favor. She is likely to face either the crafty veteran Karolina Muchova or the gritty Jacqueline Christian. Unlike Alicia Parks, neither possesses overwhelming power, suggesting a more tactical and physical battle, a scenario that plays to Eala's strengths. A victory here would put her on the verge of a top 35 debut and the third round of a slam where the possibilities are wide open. This is not a Cinderella story. It is the logical unfolding of her talent, preparation, and momentum. For fans watching, this is a front-row seat to history. Eala is carving out what could be the greatest individual sports career in Philippine history, standing alongside icons like Hidilyn Diaz and Manny Pacquiao. The Australian Open 2026 has for now become the Alex Eala show, and rightfully so. In summary, Alex Eala defeated Alicia Parks in the first round, secured a projected career-high ranking of world number 43, and became the first Filipino ever to reach this level in professional tennis. The world is not just surprised by her win. It is in awe of her dominance. This story is still developing, and as the tournament continues, every set, game, and point will matter. But for today, we celebrate a young woman from Quezon City who stepped onto a Melbourne court, faced one of the game's biggest servers, and didn't just win. She announced her arrival among the elite of women's tennis. The rise to the top is happening in real time, and we are witnessing it firsthand.